I feel like we'd be doing God's work if Unauthorized Opinions theme song was done by the Nickelback singer. Shout out Chad Kroeger, the Stained guy. I don't know his name. Maybe something like that. I think it would be the best thing ever. Three Doors Down comes to mind. It's not my time. Anybody who sounds like that, really. Welcome back to the show. UnauthorizedOpinions.com, UOPod.com for all of our links. Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, Rumble. We love you all. Audio listeners, don't forget to go to patreon.com/UOPod for all of our bonus content. We've got so much content. You can see it all as bonus if you'd like. That would help us a little bit if you give us that thumbs up at the bottom. But we've got so much to get to here. We've got some White House news. We've got Canada's Trump derangement is off the charts. We've got some Caitlin Clark, if you missed the WNBA content of the show, which may or may not be making fun of it. You don't know. Don't judge me. Some polygamy, I think that's what you can call it, and some other good stuff. I wanted to start off with perhaps the most serious part, with the controversy that's going on in the White House with the presidency. The White House just found out that a whole bunch of executive orders and things signed by Joe Biden when he was president were done by use of an AutoPen. Now, you might be thinking, what's an AutoPen, like I was? An AutoPen, is that an e-signature service? Is that like a pen that somehow directs you like a Ouija board? Yes, Y-E-S. Does anyone believe Ouija boards work? I don't think so. Maybe that's an episode, a Ouija board episode special. But they found out he used this AutoPen for signatures, some of which when he was away on vacation. And what an AutoPen actually is, it is honestly what you thought it wouldn't be. It's a gigantic machine used to write a signature. And you'd think in 2024, or whenever Biden was using this, that we would have some sort of advanced technology as opposed to just, a 1950s robot holding a pen that you use to sign things. So I was shocked at how primitive this is. So you literally just write your signature on this card, and it slides into this card reader, and then you place it, I guess, right below where you want the signature to go, and it writes it out for you the same every time, as long as whatever's on the card. And they tout this as being, as long as you have your card, nobody else can use it, so don't give anyone your card. Surely that's what happens, but the theory is Joe Biden signs this card, and then they can use it whenever they want. That was a pretty terrible card. If I if I have to be honest, that was a pretty terrible signature. But that's the gist of it. You tell it the signature you want to use. I'm sure they have a better one than that. I would hope so. And it signs things for you. But now people are calling into question whether or not some of these pardons or executive orders were legitimate because of the AutoPen. Specifically, the pardon of Anthony Fauci, which of course is controversial to the highest degree. So this is from friend of the show, Joe McKinnon. Anthony Fauci, retired General Mark Milley, and others with questionable track records have received controversial pardons just prior to Joe Biden leaving office. New signature analysis conducted by the Heritage Foundation Oversight Project indicates that the same exact Biden AutoPen signature appeared on each of these pardons. This revelation regarding the use of an automatic pen signature device, coupled with the evidence of Biden's diminished agency while in office and previous allegations concerning his sidelining, has prompted some critics to wonder who is actually dispensing the pardons. So, here's the other thing about it. Trump and Obama have used the so-called AutoPen, and there are indications that document signings during Biden's tenure were repeatedly undertaken while he was absent, not only in body but possibly in mind. So that's an important thing to note, that Trump and Obama also use this. I don't think it should be used at all. I think, where is the president going where he can't get something printed or faxed? What is he signing that needs his authorization instantly over the phone as opposed to send it to me, I'll fax it to me, I'll sign it and fax it back. I guess it's basically the same concept where you're signing things from afar, but you could easily see how that thing could cause abuse, especially when somebody like Biden is in office who purported to be brain dead. We don't know yet if he was acting the whole time, and in front of cameras he was the bumbling fool that we saw. It'd be a hell of an acting job. But the idea here is that he is so mentally diminished at the time through using his signature when he's not giving permission to. The White House acknowledged that the Federal Aviation Administration funding extension was signed in May 2024 using the AutoPen. It was suggested that Biden, traveling in San Francisco at the time, had sought to avoid a lapse in funding and was cognizant of this taking place. Biden has, however, cast doubt on whether he was always in the loop when documents were being signed in his name. I saw a video on Rogan where he was talking about somebody who's talking to somebody who's in the White House, and they had mentioned that Biden didn't. It was Speaker Mike Johnson in a video that he showed, and he was saying that he couldn't get a meeting with Biden for 8 weeks, I think, and when he finally got it, he said, President Jehoshaphat, why'd you sign this executive order? And he's like, I didn't. And he said, yes, you did. And he insisted that he didn't, so he had the secretary print one out and bring it into him, and he insisted that he never remembered signing it. So that would be an anecdote as to where it seems like something like that might be used. Now, I think the issue we run into here is, do we want anyone using an AutoPen when it can be so easily abused, especially if a president becomes sick or something else, doesn't remember anything, or becomes Joe Biden? The correct thing here is not to elect a guy who is at least showing signs that he can't move. He couldn't get off stages. He couldn't walk upstairs. He couldn't ride a bike. It could have been worse. He could have been Mitch McConnell freezing. He could have been Nancy Pelosi drunkenly falling down the stairs, allegedly. But you don't want this to happen. I don't think anyone should really support this. And the questions have come up legally if this stuff holds water. Now, if Trump and Obama have used it, Trump's just going to re-sign anything that he did. You know what I mean? But under Biden, all these different questions are being asked. And I think it's just a method to possibly, make them look even worse and, put a few more things into place and strip a few more places into funding. Whether those things I would support or not, I don't know. It would have to depend on what it is, of course. But I think everybody knew that Joe Biden wasn't calling the shots. Like, again, the conspiracy side of me is like, what if he was just lying to make you not suspect anything from him? But assuming things are on the level and he, thought that an Archie comic was brand new and he thought that Scooby-Doo came out last year. Assuming it was all like that, we all knew anyways that he wasn't the one pulling the strings. So is it any question? Is it any surprise that things were being signed, if they were, without his consent? I wouldn't be surprised at all. And to be honest, anything that got signed was not something that I would suspect him to be against anyways. You remember that speech he gave with the red and black lights behind him, the real doomsday address? That was quite the time. Like, that was when, they say all these dark times about Trump, but when the president comes out literally emoting and, having a presentation as if he's some sort of fascist dictator and then saying, like, MAGA is our enemies. And then they say that about Trump. It's a little weird. So I don't think it would be, would it be far-fetched to think that Biden signed something that was about men and women's bathrooms or something like that, or funding to something ridiculous? Of course not. Of course not. Something I want to show you. We mentioned Trump. The trade war, the tariff war in Canada has just, it's broken the minds of many. And it's hard for me to continuously pummel the boomers over this. My dad's a boomer. Your dad's a boomer. Maybe some of us have aunts and uncles that are just falling into this. But especially in Canada, we fall into this where tariffs are now the end of the world, right? We've got boomers thinking the percentage of 25% tariff, the possibility of 25% tariffs is going to crush our economy when everything's already double and triple the price. And that's just a little bit insane. And the fact that we've had tariffs on the United States for decades, particularly dairy, meat, that sort of things, where it's 200, 300%. And that's why in Canada, you don't see any American beef for the most part. You might get some Jack Links for $9, probably because it's tariffed. You don't see any American milk or eggs. And to a degree, that makes sense. You want people to buy from our country, but the liberty-based person in me, the freedom-based person in me says, well, these products I should be able to buy whichever products are better. Maybe the stores don't have to carry them, but if a store wants to carry them to give more variety, and they can, and people like them, then why shouldn't they be able to at a normal price? So I get both sides of it, and I get why the United States wants to, I get why the United States wants to do this thing where they do reciprocal tariffs. And that's not exactly mean of them. It's being portrayed as it's very mean to do that to the boomers. And what I'm saying is Canada's been doing the same thing, so how is it mean only when the U.S. does it? If you told them, the same people, if this was a different situation, and you said, putting tariffs on the United States is mean. If it was like a conservative government in office in Canada and they said, we can't have these tariffs on the U.S., we're destroying people's jobs down there. They're just people who are just on the other side of the border. They're our neighbors. They're our family. We can't have tariffs. These people would go for that. The same people who say the tariffs are bad would go for that if you told them tariffs are bad the other way and we shouldn't have them. But in this case, in this scenario, tariffs are wonderful for us, but not for them. Let's see if we can get... let's see this here.
Some might call it a smashing good time. A nationwide surge in frustration over Trump's tariffs on Canada has sparked a new idea at a rage room in Halifax.
What you see here is a drop in a bucket.
Owner Terry LeBlanc is giving customers a free frame photo of U.S. President Donald Trump to smash.
Normally I don't really get political. However, I feel with everything going on in the world and what's happening these days, I feel like this is needed.
So of course this was needed. I'm never political, except I want people to smash the picture of Donald Trump and Elon Musk. So what we have here is footage of boomers putting themselves in a rage room because they're so upset with Trump over something that hasn't actually happened, by the way. None of this stuff has actually happened. And they're so upset with him. They've been watching these very broadcasts. And they're saying, you know what, we can't take this anymore. I need to get my rage out and smash pictures of Trump.
The Rage Room provides a safe space to blow off steam by breaking electronic and household items.
We're entertainment first, and if you get a little stress relief out of it while you're here, then it wins both ways.
And people are having fun.
Well, I have a little souvenir that I'm actually going to keep. Just hang it up, March break stuff. Sorry, Donald.
It's kind of freeing. It's very nice. It's almost therapeutic. It was great. I loved it.
Oh, it's almost therapeutic there, bud. I just go in there and I smash the picture of the old Donald there, and I just feel a weight lifted off of me shoulders. It's slowly turning into a leprechaun. I just feel the weight lifted off of me shoulders, and I just can't help think that Orange Man bad. This is how Canadians actually talk, by the way. This woman here, this is not an exaggeration. You're going to find people all over the place. That woman looked possibly native. She had a French last name. Who knows what she was? But the same way people in New York all sound like Italians, so many people up in Canada talk like this,
While this reporter shouldn't participate in any political smashing, I do want to alleviate some stress and break some random objects.
Extras on the Smash menu are 25% off in opposition to the tariffs. The portraits have been donated to Leblanc by Quinprint and are printed on Canadian paper. The shop is bracing for impact from Trump's proposed levy and is worried for its customers.
People are feeling the pinch, and at least as far as my clients are concerned, it's the folks who can afford the pinch the least.
Framed photos of J.D. Vance and Elon Musk.
I can't afford. You see the contradiction here? I can't afford to go out and buy groceries, but I can't afford. This 25% tariff is going to crush me so badly that I can't afford things. But let me go pay to smash a bunch of things in a rec room. Pictures of JD. Oh, I'm just going to go out there and smash some pictures of old JD and some old Elon photos, eh? I know these 25% tariffs are going to crush me, but if I go paying $50, well, that's just money well spent. I think you take a few days off from Tim's and then you smash up a few pictures of Elon. He's a fascist. So why don't we just go in there and do that, This is absolutely these people are absolutely out of their minds, and it makes me wonder who put out some sort of radio frequency on like PBS or in Canada CBC Gem, NPR radio. There had to have been a day where somebody sent a spam email out to boomers' Hotmail accounts and said, click on this to win $1 million. And it just played like a high-pitched frequency that activated them against Trump. Because, these people don't know anything about J.D. Vance. What has J.D. Vance done besides been mean to Zelensky? They don't know anything about J.D. Vance. They've been hammered with Musk and Trump tariff stuff where they're just protecting their economy and the taxpayer. But on the other side, Canada doing the same thing. It's like, that's mean when they do it, so we're going to do it back. It's not mean if we do it. Plus, we have this psychosis where we want to smash pictures of their faces. I don't know where this... I don't know how this works, and I'm beginning to... it's reaching its wit's end. When you're going to say you can't afford anything, but you'd spend money to go and smash pictures... It's like we're in 2016 all over again. It's been 10 years almost, and we've recircled back around to this Orange Man bad thing, even though things were clearly terrible under Biden, and things were clearly terrible under Trudeau. And now we're circling back around to before that, where they have the same arguments. It's a new generation, and it's all boomers. It's all people over 50 years old at these protests, at these anti-Elon protests, these anti-Trump protests. It's all boomers. It's supplemented by illegal immigrants who don't want to be deported, yes. But for the most part, you see any of the new videos. Caitlin Clark, Bo Diddle, a lot of these people who are still out there doing this, God bless them. InfoWars the other day was out there. It's all old white people. And you're just like, what is going on here? What chain letter did they threaten them with? If you don't go out and smash pictures of Donald Trump, you're going to get 7 years of bad luck. Or, I just won $30 million in this Nigerian lottery. I'm a prince. I want to send I'll send you $10 million. You just send me back 8, okay? And if you don't go smash pictures of Trump or protest against Elon, I'm going to call the police on you. This extortion game. Stop extorting the boomers. CBC, PBS, Global News, CNN. I guess this is their core audience, and they felt like they can hold on to like a block of like 500,000 viewers if they just keep appealing to them. But the boomers are being manipulated. Sure, this is a lot of common sense we're working with, a little bit of math here, a little bit of history there. I can't afford an Apple, but I'm going to go spend this amount of money smashing photos. Okay. I don't like slavery, but I'm happy to subsidize slave labor so that I can keep immigrants coming in. The housing prices just go up. We don't know why. It has nothing to do with our massive immigration policy. None of this stuff connects with these people. So I guess when that happens, let's just go smash some photos. It's wild. It's truly wild. Our next video here. We're video heavy today. I just found so many things this week that intrigued me. Anthony Mackie. Do we care about Anthony Mackie? Let's skip Anthony Mackie for now. If we have time for him, we'll get to him. Let's push them down the list. We're going to go with this instead. Representative McBride is a Democrat who's a transgender woman, meaning a guy. And she/he/zin/zer has some issues with how things are being run with the Republican Party and how much they care. His stance is, you guys care too much about culture war issues, and it's weird.
We will not take a lecture on decorum from a party that incited an insurrection.
This is my real voice. Just like the news lady from the last thing. This is my real voice.
I appear to live rent-free in the minds of some of my Republican colleagues. I wish that they would spend even a fraction of the time that they spend thinking about me, thinking about how to lower the costs for American families. I wish they would spend a fraction of the time that they spend thinking about me, figuring out how to make government actually work better, rather than making it work worse in order to prove that government can't work. They are obsessed with culture war issues. The Republican Party is obsessed with culture war issues. It is weird and it is bizarre. And the American people deserve serious legislators, serious elected officials who are focused on bringing people together to deliver real results for the American people, not to play games, and not to engage in schoolyard taunts.
Great job, Mrs. McBride. Ignore my voice, ignore my wig and my dress. You guys are weird. This is something we say in my house. I'm not weird. You're weird. Stop playing games. I'm clearly a woman. You guys are obsessed with this. Forget about it. It's so strange. I'm a guy up here in a wig and a dress, pretending to be like literally just emulating a woman's voice. And you guys are weird for having a problem with that. Why can't we just focus on the real issues? Imagine that was you might as well just be wearing a clown costume and say, hey guys, quit clowning around, would you? Could you quit clowning around? We need some serious legislators here. Guy in wig and dress pitching his voice to be a woman. Guys, like this is literally, guys, it's almost China from WWE. Guys, stop with the games. Stop with the schoolyard games. I'm a woman. Let's get over it. But don't you understand? This is the crux of it. Just keep hammering it until people just accept it. It's not just going to be accepted. Like, this is not just a thing. Like, this is not... Be who you are, I don't care. But don't tell me that I have to just accept it. I'm just a murderer. I know people are going to hate that one. I just eat raccoons off the road. What's wrong with that? I just eat... Why can't you just accept this? Comes in with like a dead raccoon, a pelt over himself. What's weird about this, you guys? I don't understand. To come in there and be like, you guys are weird. You're focusing on culture war. It makes no... I don't have any idea why you have a problem with the culture when I'm a guy pretending to be a woman lecturing you about it. I have no idea why. There's too many of them. We can't be lectured by men in dresses anymore. You know, we used to like our men in dresses. We'd have them walk the streets at night. Maybe in Las Vegas. Maybe in Boston. But now they're in Congress and we can't have that. Maybe in Thailand this works out, but not here. No trannies in Congress. We've got to eliminate transgenderism. I said eliminate transgenderism, not transgenders. Not sure what it is. It's really crazy. It's really crazy to think about. There's no... Like, this is a person who never gets told no, obviously, and that they're wrong about the simple fact of being a woman. And then when that gets perpetuated, when people are just always like, hey, great, yeah, you look great, you go, girl, you're a chick, you're a boss-ass bitch. This, of course, this person, and you can't blame them, because they have a mental illness already. You can't blame the person with the mental illness for taking what you give them. If you tell an anorexic person, keep declining your, keep starving yourself, keep rejecting food because it's working out great, you're losing weight, great. That person's going to keep doing it. They're not just going to be like, oh my God, they must be lying to me. They have an illness that makes them believe something or that perpetuates some sort of belief, and then these people agree with it. It's like, are one of these 600-pound women who eat online and get paid, are they just going to stop when everybody's like, yeah, this is hot? Smush those SpaghettiOs between your rolls. No, they're going to keep going with it. So this person keeps going with the idea that they're not weird, you're weird. And they're going to keep pushing forward with that through life and acting like they've got all the answers. So I think in most of these cases, the people around these people are to blame. And by these people, I mean anyone who has some sort of body dysmorphia, anorexia, transgenderism, hyper, like an eating disorder, something like that, a drug problem. Of course, it does not help when somebody is supporting you. And this is like the only thing. They keep trying to do with fat women for some reason. Fat women want other women to be fat, so they're more attractive. But they keep doing this with that and transgenderism. Those are the only two things where it's just like, keep doing it. You're doing a good job, destroying yourself with hormones and food and whatever. And then say, well, if I'm correct about that, so why wouldn't I be correct about everything else? If everybody's telling me this is normal, then that must mean the Republicans are just crazy. But it's, to not recognize, even as a transgender person, that who you are and being in government, being who you believe you to be in government is not an issue, shows a bit of an issue for me. I don't know about you guys. For a guy in a dress to come up there and be like, what's the problem? This is from DJ Cam Bennett. This next video, he's a pretty good guy. Everyone he follows like 1 million people or whatever. But I think I spoke to him once about like advertising, and he is a nice guy. And whenever you comment on his stuff, he drops little hints that he's a little bit more right wing, and he shares these stuff promotionally, but. Is somebody paying him to share this video? I don't know. I think he slips in his own stuff that he wants to be made public. He's got millions of followers. And this is right along the same lines of this can only happen because liberals keep telling people it's okay.
My ex-husband, and our children. My boyfriend was the one who brought up the idea of, hey, why don't we just all live together? Obviously, at first, everybody was kind of against it. So
this is a woman who lives with her ex-husband, her boyfriend, and her kids. She's a little bit husky. These guys are a little bit, look at them. That's just the context.
All moved to the East Coast around the same time. Once we realized that finances just weren't getting better and, it was really impacting our daughter, we just said, let's do it.
What will each of the children call you?
Well, he just calls me Michael. Sometimes she also calls me Tyler or Dad. And I'm like, nope, that's not right. I'm not Dad.
Yeah, we correct her immediately. Since I stay home with the kids.
We correct her immediately. She doesn't know who her father is, but don't worry, we correct her immediately.
I'm obviously around them the most. When Tyler wakes up, he'll kind of take over with Ryan. When Michael gets home, obviously he helps out with Juniper and with Ryan.
I just get to be closer to my daughter every single day.
She has been much more calm. She's obviously happier having both her parents around all the time. I live with my...
So this woman's justifying this by saying the child's father is around all the time. She doesn't want to say she just likes sleeping with two dudes and having them both fight over her. That's the truth. One of these guys is either... there's only two routes here. Gay or pathetic. There's only two types of men like this. The gay guys and the pussy guys. Only two types. We used to love our gays and pussies. Can't do it for everything. But obviously, either you're okay with having another man sleep with your girlfriend or wife or whatever it is, which would make you a cuckophile or whatever you want to call it. Or you enjoy this, which makes you gay. makes you gay. Sorry. A little bit gay. And the only other option, of course, is pathetic. Like, either one of you can't say no to this girl. She's got you guys wrapped around her finger. She's got both of the men taking care of the babies. One of them's name is Juniper, by the way. Let that sink in. And then you've got this camera crew coming in like, well, what does this kid call you? It's just a normal situation. I wonder what the children refer to their fathers as. This isn't just documentarianism. Okay, I'm so sick of... That's what happens on all these shows, and of course targeted towards women to make them think this is not completely messed up. They just come at it from an approach where it's not insane. And certain things, if a person, plays too many video games and they're sitting in a dark hole playing whatever Warcraft or something for too much, or a person like drinks too much, like, you can still document them, even in those situations, and be like, you realize this is not normal, right? Like, you can still go in there and just, like, you realize this isn't sane. Like, I'm not going to call, like, I can't call the police on you. There's nothing I can do. But is that the way they get into these people's homes, by telling them that it's not insane? And we just want to cover it because it's always presented as if it's normal. There's no voiceover text, just a line at the bottom that says, like, this is fucking weird. By the way, no editor's note. Yes, this is weird. No, we just don't judge. It's just totally normal that you're having sex with a new guy and brought back to your ex-husband, and your child doesn't know which one is his father. Is totally normal. This is totally a thing that would happen in a functioning society. They always say that sexual degradation is like the symbol of a failing society, and like what happened in the last days of the Romans and the Greeks, and if you look back in history, everything was hyper gay in a sense, and most of those civilizations did collapse, but it was sort of just embedded. So I don't know if this is a sign of societal collapse, but it is certainly a sign of things perpetuating longer than they should, and people finding connection through the internet, and like 12 people who do this don't think it's weird anymore. It's weird when the Mormons do it, which is like their traditional thing to repopulate themselves, but polygamy's never going to be really accepted. Of course, Muslims do it as well with multiple wives. But I think in a healthy society where you are subject to questioning and women and men have equal rights, and in this case, you need to talk to the men, but you're never going to, I don't think you're going to find a panel of people that say anything that goes beyond, it's not for me, but if you want to do it, that's fine. And to a degree, I am fine with that. But once you bring children into it, you're messing them up, You're going to be told that this is your uncle until you're like 10 years old. And then you're going to start going to school. You're going to start seeing different movies and stuff where this isn't reflective of anything you know about at home. You're going to start asking questions, and they're going to say, well, we all love each other. This is your dad and this is our friend. And then when you hit about grade 7 or 8, they're going to say your dad's got a boyfriend. And then the kid's going to go home and say, are you mom's boyfriend? And is this my dad? And they're going to say yes, but we all love each other. And then the kid's going to be going back to school, and he's going to say, well, yeah, that's normal. And there's only two types of responses. Either the kids are going to be indoctrinated into thinking that's normal, or the more likely scenario, all the other boys are going to say, your family's retarded. That's the thing that I think is going to happen. That's not normal. I only have a mommy and a daddy. And, you're going to have an easier time explaining lesbian or gay parents than you are a throuple household, because this just involves cockery. Like, it's never going to work. One person's going to inevitably want more attention, and regular adults know this, but these people, the 3 people in this video, they've been on the internet too long, and they've been convinced, they've had their position justified enough times where they think it's normal, but it's ultimately for their own satisfaction and attention. Why else would you want cameras coming into your home If you're just a guy and girl, do you want a camera coming in your home just to be like, tell us how your relationship works? No, you wouldn't. And these people inherently know they're doing something weird, and they're getting attention for it, and they don't care how it makes their kid feel. They don't care how confused their kid is. They say, well, no, we correct him immediately. Well, what's going to come when the kid asks, what exactly is this guy doing here if he's not my father? And then therefore says, I don't have to listen to you because you're not my father. And then a lot of resentment's going to build because the kids won't like the guy who's not the father. But mommy likes to sleep with the guy who's not the father. So almost as if it's not going to work. And that's connected to the congressman in the way that I think that they are, how can I say this, lied to consistently until they believe their own psychosis. You believe something, you know it's not true, but you really want to believe it because it makes you feel good, and then you surround yourself with people that tell you to keep picking up the burrito, keep having a three-way relationship, keep dressing as a woman, and you keep, no pun intended, keep pounding yourself with those words, and it justifies it, and you can just sort of put that guilt off to the side and show up to the press conference and blame other people for being weird while you're in a wig. Caitlin Clark is a WN. She's not wearing a wig. Beautiful hair. Caitlin Clark is the WNBA star who got a lot of right-wing support for being not only the best female basketball player of all time, that's how she got notoriety, but then she got a lot of right-wing support for not giving into wokeism. She got a lot of right-wing support for not being a victim all the time. But then when the season ended, she said, you know, I didn't get here on my own. It's because I'm a white woman and we need to elevate black women. So she got a threatening note in her locker that says, I'm going to kill you if you don't take up arms with social justice. And that part's, I just made that part up. But you have to imagine if you go a whole season without saying anything and then all of a sudden you start spouting this message, maybe Nike and Gatorade and all these things start saying, hey, you gotta toe the line a little bit or this is going to stop. The guy takes you into the dark room where the bloodletting is happening and the adrenochrome's happening. He's like, you gotta play ball a little bit. No pun intended again. Then she gets that 50-foot billboard in Chicago where she does the Nike commercial that says she's oppressed. So she's completely done a 180 here. And now that's why if you're wondering where Caitlin Clark has gone, she's still around. Oh, she's still around. But nobody gives a shit as much. Some outlets are still writing about it because they like to simp outlets. But it just shows nobody ever actually cared about the WNBA. It still lost $40 million last year. And Caitlin Clark turned her back on all the people that were propping her up and making her popular. Because being a WNBA player does not make you popular. Sorry. And now we're starting to see it fall off a little bit, as is predicted. And I just thought it was funny to share this sexist video of Caitlin Clark losing. This is Caitlin Clark on the left, dressed very cool-like. This is probably a PR guy. But this is former NFL quarterback Eli Manning, two-time Super Bowl winner, 46, 47, 48 years old now. And he's just wrecking Caitlin Clark in this arcade basketball game.
Start your engines. One, go. Come on. And they're off. Oh boy. Cece's already up 3-0. She's on fire. Come on.
So we just have a guy simping immediately. She's up 3-0. She's on fire. Oh my God.
All right. Eli's heating up. He's warming up. Go, ball. All right, he's in a groove. 38-30. Eli's up. What? Come on. You need a three-pointer. You got to step back.
I've never won a game against a guest before. I told you I'm bad at pop shots.
Eli's bringing it. He's bringing it. Eli's on fire right now. And time. Oh,
high score? Is that set the high score?
I think it's set a new record. Yep, it's blinking high score. 76-51 for the viewer.
Wow. Give it up for Eli.
Yeah.
Reality strikes. Eli Manning crushes Caitlin Clark He says he's never beaten one of his guests in one of these games before. She can't believe it. She's used to people kissing her ass. I'm here for it. I'm going to laugh at it. And no matter how it sounds, I'm going to say this is a direct reflection of athletic ability. I don't care if they're playing ping pong, skeet ball, or that old motorcycle game where you lean to one side or the other. This is evidence that she's not that good. I'm taking it home. I'm taking this as a big win. This is something you can't help. No. Obviously, this is a different game, and I honestly think that part of it is because that she's so used to using smaller basketball. If you don't know, if you play basketball, the women's balls, what they don't tell you is the women's balls are much smaller. They shoot three-pointers from closer, but for some reason they have too much pride to lower the rim so that they can dunk. Even though if they could dunk, it wouldn't be that as exciting. As a man game, it would just be a little bit more exciting. But I think that the bigger ball here, which it appears to be,
Start your engines.
I'm going to look at the ball in their hand here. It might be the small ball. I'm trying to give Caitlin some credit here and say that it might be because the ball is too big. The women's balls are smaller. But if that was the case, she should be used to that. I get that it's completely random, but he crushed her. So that's going to eat at her for the next few years. That clip's going to be used in memes for years to come. Best female player of all time, plays retired football player, gets smoked. That's going to be there for all time. And I think if those balls were men's size balls, that would be a problem. You wouldn't be used to that. It'd be too heavy. But then again, that might be useful in that case, since it's such a short shot, it would make you come up a bit lighter. And I don't know how else to frame this in a way and emphasize more that I'm willing to accept any sexist reasoning here as to why Caitlin Clark got defeated by Eli Manning. Because it's just funny, right? If you were to put, Shaquille O'Neal doing that, it'd be funny because he's terrible at free throws. If you were to put, a male basketball player against some random woman, or maybe she's a soccer player and she crossed him with that would be funny too. So it would go both ways. But if it was Michael Jordan getting defeated by a soccer playing woman, I would not say, obviously, Michael Jordan's not as good as people think he is. But for Caitlin Clark, I'm willing to do that. I've been scorned enough. I've been, I threw my support behind her for not being super woke and rejecting the ease of which she could do that and rejecting those storylines and falling into that trap. But now that she has done it, I'm willing to say this is evidence that she's not actually that good. So I don't care anymore. This is evidence Caitlin Clark is not actually that good. She got beat by an old man who never played her sport. In fact, I would imagine he's terrible at basketball, given his face. I love Eli Manning. You can tell the Mannings are not good at basketball. I don't know, though. Tom Brady's good at basketball. This is direct evidence Caitlin Clark is not actually a good athlete. Let's see. Let's go to Anthony Mackie here. Anthony Mackie, Black Captain America, Blapton America, if you will. I liked the show he was in, Twisted Metal. There's a second season coming out of that. He's generally not a political guy, but he has been lately. He had, I forget what comments he had about a month ago, where he was trying to say something about Captain America and say it's not like about the country, it's about like a feeling. I don't remember, but it rubbed people the wrong way. I gave him the benefit of the doubt of that. But now he's saying something that I can't get on board with at all. And it really shows how isolated people in Hollywood are and how much they think their world reflects the real world. So here's Anthony Mackie talking about how skill doesn't matter. It's all about who you know. Here we go.
Right? And I've seen people go from nothing to the biggest stars in the world. I've seen people go from one role to winning Academy Awards and doing all this shit. And what I realized yesterday thinking about it, we're lying to our kids, dog. And I think that's a big problem in our community. We tell our kids that and this is fresh on my heart. Like I literally just.
I like how it has to be our community, black people. We're lying to black children. We don't speak. I don't want to speak about any other children but my race's children. That's weird. Right off the bat, you're weird.
Came to this conclusion last night. We tell our kids if they do right and they make the good grades and they go to the programs and they will become successful. If you work hard enough, your work will be paid off. And that's not true. Success is given. It's not earned. Because you can be the most brilliant. If one person don't tap you, each one of y'all. There were people who could hit harder, who could catch better, who could run faster. But somebody said, you're the one. And the other 50 behind you fell off. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm.
And this phase of Ryan Clark, who's super liberal, he's just like, so you're saying I didn't deserve to... Watch his face.
You're the one. And the other 50 behind you fell off.
That face?
You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And...
I'm going to kill you. Are you saying that I didn't deserve to be drafted into the NFL? I don't believe Ryan Clark was like a number one pick. He might have been first round. Let me look this up for you. But to say that the only reason these guys made it in the NFL is, there's been people who've been drafted number one and not made it. Ryan Leaf comes to mind. Ryan Clark, NFL. Tom Brady was drafted in the very last round, or the 6th round or something like that, as the last quarterback in the draft. He also at Michigan was, I believe, the 3rd string until he got the chance to play because of an injury or something like this. Let's finish it. I'll find out when he was drafted.
And because of that, I don't know what that emotion or that feeling is the scary thing. Because I went to all the programs. I've done Broadway. I've done off-Broadway. I've been in the business 24 years. I've been in 2 Academy Award films. I've done independent films. I've done major motion pictures. Now I'm Captain America. So now what?
Hold up. So what does that even mean? Were you given your spot then? Then quit. Like if you are a guy and you're saying that it doesn't matter how talented you are and you got this role as Captain America because of a connection you had, then just say that. Just say, I got this role because I knew a guy who was casting for it, or I knew the director or something. But you're not going to say that because you want your movie to do well. So you don't really believe that. You don't believe it enough to say it. And we're talking about Hollywood and acting here. So in Hollywood, you can, your father can get you in because he knows an agent. You could suck somebody off and get that job too. You can do all these things in Hollywood. You could know somebody and get these jobs. This doesn't work for everything. Just because you said go to super liberal school, take shitty liberal arts degree, and expect... That's the lie. That you deserve success. That's the lie he's talking about, but he's applying it incorrectly. The lie is that you deserve success just because you went and did the things you were told to do. The hard work is the only thing that works. I've seen it time and time again. The only things that I can tell you, based on everything I've done and everybody that I've been witness to, is work hard because everybody's got a job and then maybe they've got a side hustle that they prefer, like a podcast. And you have to work extra hard to make that successful. And 2, you have to be consistent. There's always going to be people in any field that are handed things. But if your advice to your children is go, the popular one is to say lesbian dance theory at Harvard and expect to get a job of it, well, that's just a lie meant to indoctrinate you, and there's no actual application for this in the real world except for made-up things, where in that case, yeah, you would have to know somebody to get that government contract. But just because he went to some sort of gay school and did gay plays and went to Gayville, USA, which is Hollywood, California, and things didn't work out for him. Things weren't like super pro-black, and I'm only saying that because he brought up race first. Just because things weren't the way they thought you were, then nobody gets there on merit. You're talking to athletes. Yes, you can be drafted. Yes, you can get to college. Yes, you could be given a chance on a coaching staff. You can be given these chances in sports. But I have yet to have somebody give me an example where somebody excels at sports based on something being given to them. You can, like I said, you can have the best training in the world. You can be the best player in high school, college, all the way up to the NFL. You can be drafted first overall and still shit the bed. It's happened many times. The Atlanta Thrashers, former NHL hockey team, the guy who was drafted first overall, the first guy they ever drafted, number 1 overall in like 97 or whatever it was, he shit the bed. He didn't last for more than his first contract. So you can say it's the training they've gotten. They've got the upper hand because their father's got connections, to elite coaching. The mother's got connections to elite marketing teams and like academic training and all this sort of stuff. Whatever you get handed to you, in some aspects you still have to do the work. I'm sorry that in Hollywood it's just like based on, how many times you can take a knee for the national anthem or how many weird blood orgies you're willing to go to. But there are other places in the world where hard work pays off. I'm no Zuckerberg fan, but he stole that idea. Nobody stole it for him. Bill Gates, if you look at his story, he's evil, but he had a computer, stole that from Xerox, I believe, quote unquote, conjecture, Your Honor, don't know that to be certain. This is a comedy podcast. He came up with his company on his own. How many, people who have started companies in your own personal life? People who are carpenters. People who are in the military. People who do tons of jobs where the hard work is what pays it off. Can your father hire you for his painting business? Yes. Do you still have to paint? Yes. How many times is like Bar Rescue or like a kitchen, a restaurant show where it's the father gives their son a restaurant and he shits the bed? Like, success cannot be given to you in all cases. Maybe in a case where, your performance doesn't matter, but your performance does matter in acting. Your performance does matter in sports especially. It matters in many business aspects. And of course, the correct thing to say to your kids is not, don't try. It's just all about getting connections. So, blow your way to the top. I'm sorry that you chose acting, and there's a very slim level of success rate, and you have to be, trans and liberal and satanic to get to the top. But this is the trade you chose. Don't go into hockey and be a shitty hockey player who doesn't work very hard and be like, I'm still going to make the NHL because my dad is Mario Lemieux or whatever. There's plenty of people's sons who didn't make it in sports. So I think Anthony Mackie is just frustrated with Hollywood, and he only got these big roles because he knew somebody, and that got him connected, and he sees shitty actors getting work all the time, and that frustrates him. Don't take it out on your kids and say you're never going to amount to anything unless you know somebody. That's completely retarded. That's not what you say to children. But if you tell them, go to gay college C and take, introduction to communism, then go be an intern at ABC agency and work in there, and, something might happen, something might not. Like, that's your fault. Like, just because you joined something that requires ultimate fakeness and ultimate connections. Like, is there a genre of professionalism more fake than acting and more based on your connections than acting? I don't think so. Government, I guess, is the only other one. So why tell this to your children? I think he's just so disconnected that he's sitting here telling athletes that it had nothing to do with how hard they work. It had to do with their the connections that they had. Hold on, I'm still trying to get this. My phone was freezing on me. I'll get it for you now. Ryan Terry Clark. Undrafted. That's even worse. He's sitting there talking about Ryan Clark, who was undrafted after 4 years at LSU. He was undrafted, and he's saying he got connections handed to him. the best case scenario is that his connection was he knew a guy that was willing to let him try out. If things were handed to him, he would have been drafted. Insane. Never listen to a guy like this. Don't listen to actors for advice at all. Their experience in the real world is unlike anything. Until somebody's been canceled, then you can start listening to them, because that's when reality starts to hit. UnAuthorizedOpinions.com, UOPod.com. Thanks for watching. We're going to have interviews next week. We're going to do a podcast with, I think, I won't tell you who, but we got a repeat offender coming up. I'm going to talk to somebody who worked at the White House this week. We've got, who else do we have? Oh, I don't want to give away that one in case he cancels. We've got, I think, at least 3 good shows coming up for you. And uopod.com, Spotify, Apple Music, and Apple Podcasts is where you're going to get them. Of course, every Sunday. We appreciate you. Please hit the like button if you're still listening. Please, if you're listening on audio, leave us a review. Share the podcast. Share your favorite moment. Time code that shit. Thank you very much. And remember, I wouldn't lie to you except for maybe this once.